So, you want to play beta Minecraft. Maybe you saw a video of some goober explaining why he likes it, and so you want to play it for the first time, or you've played it before and you just want to jump back into it. My hope is that this video will give you all you need to play and enjoy Minecraft beta to its fullest, because I genuinely just love this version. It's given me so much enjoyment over the last 3 years, and I want to spread that to other people. Now, this guide will not be a full tutorial on every aspect, but in the places where I am lacking knowledge, I will try to reference and link other resources that you can use, so that by the end of it, you will have everything you need. Now, this video originally was only going to be about inspiration and building ideas for beta Minecraft, and if you do just want to see that stuff, you can skip to this timestamp listed here. But I realized that for the people who don't know that much about old Minecraft going in, they may not know where to start or how to even play the game, because it's not super straightforward. Alright, first I want to mention that the version I'm specifically playing and talking about for this video is beta 1.7.3. This is probably the most popular version in like the old Minecraft community for various reasons. It was the last version with this certain terrain generation, the last version without hunger, and all these other stuff that like is considered to have changed the direction of the game. So all my advice and everything will relate to beta 1.7.3. It can apply to other old versions, but there's no guarantees. So how do you play beta? Well, you might think it's pretty simple. I mean, the old Minecraft launcher actually lets you go back and play a bunch of old versions of the game, which is actually something that's really cool, and I really appreciate that about the launcher. So you just go into versions on your instance and you scroll down and you find 1.7.3, right? And then you play it. No, stop. You've already made a huge mistake. This is a super common mistake for people to make. Release 1.7.3 is not the same as beta 1.7.3. And I mean, they are both old versions at this point, but you're going to go into release 1.7.3 and you're going to wonder why your beta world doesn't look the same as other people's and why you have a hunger bar when other people don't have it. It makes sense though, because by default, when you scroll down into the version list of the Minecraft launcher, the farthest it goes down to is release 1.0. So to change this, you have to go into settings on your Minecraft launcher and find this little checkbox that says show historical versions of Minecraft. Then when you're editing your instance, you will actually be able to go down past release 1.0 and into this list of versions that's labeled old beta. So just find the one that says old beta B1.7.3, and that's beta 1.7.3, and then you can launch the game and you're in. Now, this is probably the most accessible and easiest way to play beta, and it's fine. I mean, it works and it's mostly playable, but these older versions aren't actually supported properly. So like you'll go into beta and some of the sounds will be wrong. Your skin won't work. It may not run very well. I was noticing when I was recording, like the frame rate seemed like a lot lower than usual. There's this weird thing on the clouds, and like the snow will have this sort of effect that looks awful, and like I can't stand it. And that's actually the reason why I decided to stop using the official launcher and try a different method. So I'm going to recommend here a few third-party launchers that you can use to play beta and can work a little bit better than the official launcher. So the first one is Betacraft, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a little biased towards this one. This is the first one I tried. I like how simple it is, and I still mainly use it to this day. What I like about Betacraft is that it gives you access to a lot of old versions of Minecraft, even pretty obscure ones. It also comes just packaged with a lot of these little fixes for skins, for sounds, for graphics. You don't have to do anything. They're already included with Betacraft. And it also even has like a little mod list where you can just pick mods and then with no fuss be able to run them. I also like that it looks like the classic Minecraft launcher. I just think that's a really cool detail. Now, note that you will need Java 8 to make the Betacraft launcher work. I'm not sure of the exact details, but basically old Minecraft requires Java 8. I'll have a link to that in the description, and you can just download Java 8 and then make sure you know where you're putting it, because in the Betacraft launcher, you're going to have to go to Edit Instance, go down to Java Executable, and then either browse or just paste in the path to your Java 8 download. Specifically, you need to go into the Java folder, go to bin, and then go to the java.exe file. And that's exactly what you need to path to. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. So that is a little extra work to get Minecraft working on this launcher. But I think it's worth it because, like I said, Betacraft offers a lot of nice little perks and will give you a smoother gameplay for this old version. I guess the other downsides to this launcher would be that it is maybe too simple. You don't have as much control over like mods that you download or as much customization over your instances, which is why a lot of people use this next launcher I'm going to talk about, which is the Prism launcher. This is another very popular one. The cool thing is that Prism actually is not just for old versions of Minecraft. It's a third-party launcher for all versions. So you could just make it like your default Minecraft launcher if you wanted to. It also does offer more customizability for like mods that you download. And what's pretty cool is you can download instances. Like people will put on their own instances from Prism, and you should be able to just download these as a zip file, drag them into Prism, and then you will have this person's customized instance with all the mods installed with no fuss. So that's something that's really nice about the Prism launcher. A few of the downsides compared to Betacraft would be that Prism doesn't offer as many of the more obscure earlier old Minecraft versions. There is a little more fuss in order to get vanilla beta Minecraft working like it does on Betacraft. First of all, you'll have to put in these Java arguments in the Prism settings. I'll paste them in the description, but basically these just fix these skins and the sounds, or at least they should. The Prism launcher also does not include fixes for those graphical issues I was talking about earlier. So you will have to download, for example, the bit depth fix to fix the like cloud triangle thing and the snow thing. So there are a few more hoops you have to jump through if you want Prism to work for beta, the same way it does on Betacraft. However, again, you can download special instances and just drag them into Prism to fix a lot of these issues. There is actually one in particular that fixes a lot of issues and errors and actually adds some quality of life stuff too for beta 1.7.3. But I'll talk about that one in another section. You may want to consider adding that to your game. Also, just a note, Prism, just like Betacraft, will require Java 8 in order to run beta 1.7.3. Just real quick, I'm going to cover one more launcher that you could use. This is MultiMC, and it's very similar to Prism because Prism is a fork of it. And yeah, they're going to be very similar in the way they work. I did mention Prism first because the community tends to lean towards that one as being a bit better. So yeah, I think Prism is like slightly suggested over MultiMC, but I do know some people still use MultiMC, and I've seen some claims about like specific issues that they could only get working on MultiMC and not on Prism, stuff like that. But they should work roughly the same way. And so hopefully with this knowledge, you will be able to run beta 1.7.3 smoothly. If you want more details about these launchers and how to use them, I'm going to recommend Mongster's video about how to play beta Minecraft. It's a good video that explains everything pretty well. I will say, just as a disclaimer, things do happen. You may run into an error, maybe something went wrong. These old versions aren't really resource intensive, but they do have the problem of kind of, they're so old that sometimes they have incompatibilities with newer hardware or software. I had a problem with one of my graphics drivers and beta that I had to fix. So if you have a problem, like most problems with tech, you can search it up on the internet. There's a pretty good chance that someone else has had your problem trying to run beta before. And if not, you can ask. I would suggest the r/Golden Age Minecraft subreddit. It's a cool place where people post builds from older versions of the game, but also people are usually pretty knowledgeable about old versions of the game there. I mean, I've had problems where I just ask on that sub and people were actually able to tell me what the issue was and I was able to get it solved. So yeah, if you can't find a solution to your issue anywhere else, that may be a good place to go. Okay, so now that you're actually in the game, what do? A lot of the stuff that the game gives you to do, actually, like basically all of it is gone. There is no strongholds, there is no end, there is no ender dragon, wither, woodland mansions, monuments, enchantments, netherite, potions, trial chambers. I mean, obviously that one's pretty new, but yeah, really the only structure in the game is dungeons, and the only thing that the game really gives you to do is like achievements, because those were in the game at this point, a few of them. But besides that, what is there to do in beta Minecraft? Well, in beta, you really have to rely on setting your own goals and just doing your own projects that you want to do. And in that way, it's very different from modern Minecraft in that it doesn't have a lot of those sort of set goals that the game is giving you to do. But I've always made the argument that if you come in with a certain perspective, it still plays basically the same in the long run as modern Minecraft. Because in modern Minecraft, all that other stuff like the Ender Dragon, Trial Chambers, whatever, like that's cool, but it doesn't keep you on a world for a long time. It doesn't keep you playing on a world for 200 hours. Eventually, when you do everything and get all the gear, you will just have to start making up your own projects and goals that you want to do in your world. So, I mean, in a way, you can still do just as many things in beta as later versions, which is an infinite amount of things. You can do whatever you want. And in a way, the lack of a bigger progression system, you know, things like enchantments and netherite and elytra can be liberating from a certain perspective. Because I know some people talk about how like, oh, you know, I'm tired of going in and rushing to the end game gear before I start playing, because you feel like, oh, I have to have the best stuff. Otherwise, I'm not building and doing my projects as efficiently as I could be. But in beta, the moment you start in a world and you just have nothing, you're really not that far from like the end game items. You know, the difference between early game and end game is really like a stone pickaxe and a diamond pickaxe, and that's basically about it. So don't worry about all these things you have to do before you start playing or making your projects and builds and stuff. Beta is definitely a slower experience because of the way that many things just worked in this version, and also because you literally move slower. There's no sprinting, so you kind of just have to walk around. So just try to enjoy it and do whatever you want. Now, that kind of game where you have to make all of your own goals doesn't really sound that fun, beta might not be for you. I can't really give you your own motivation to play, but if you do think it would be fun and you're just lacking ideas or inspiration, I'm going to try to help you out. One suggestion I have is to, when you first spawn in the world, just sort of like look around, because beta worlds are great. I really, really love the terrain generation in this version. And I find that usually when I spawn in a world, like maybe 80% of the time, the spawn area is already like really cool terrain and looks just like a pleasant place to build and to exist. Even to this day, I enjoy just like walking around my beta world and finding a piece of terrain that I hadn't seen before and seeing the cool hills or flatlands or arches or floating islands or whatever it is that I see. And I always constantly get ideas of like, oh, that would be cool to build there. And like, I could do this here and make a bridge or a tunnel or something. So for your first day, maybe just look around and see like, hey, that'd be a nice place to build a house. I would definitely recommend starting with something small rather than having like these big projects that have to be built all at once. I really like doing builds where it's like it starts as one thing and then you can just keep expanding it or upgrading it or adding like neighbor builds to it and connecting them. I think that's a lot more fun and satisfying, and it feels like a lot more approachable, I guess. So maybe just start a house, but then don't just stop with, you know, a single storage room, because I mean, really, that is all you need, but go beyond just your needs. Start adding on things just because they sound fun or they would look cool. A lot of the time, I'll give form a lot of priority, even if the function starts to suffer a little, because it's just fun for me. I like having cool things and I like looking at pretty buildings. Another thing is you could just build all your builds around spawn and have that be your central place and never move away from it, which is nice. It's efficient having everything so close, but I think it's really fun and cool to have different areas in your world. And that's something I really like doing. I have like my main spawn town, but then I also have like a snowy area to the south. And then I have my big castle to the north, which is what I'm mainly working on these days. And having that separation is just fun. It's a cool feeling having to travel to different locations in your world. It can make the gameplay a little fresh if you're kind of like starting over a little bit in a new area, but also it gives you another goal to do. Infrastructure. Eventually you'll want to have a road or a railway or like a canal to your other areas. And that's another project that I think is really fun. I love doing railways of all sizes, even though they're a bit resource intensive and a bit grindy. Sometimes I like that because I can often just like turn on something to listen to in the background, like a video, and just sort of mindlessly work on these repetitive tasks. I usually enjoy stuff like that. So that's something cool to work on. Another example of prioritizing fun and form over function is mines. How do you mine? Do you usually just go straight down and then have a strip mine? I mean, that's fine. It's efficient. And that's what I used to do all the time. But now I'm done with that. I haven't done that in a long time. And now I always try to make some interesting aspect to my mines. If you do have a strip mine, how about just widen the central tunnel, add like wooden support beams? I find that kind of stuff really fun. I always like making like cool mining areas and making it feel like an actual like Minecraft mine. Also rails, use rails in your mine. That's what mine carts are for, obviously. Their original intention is to be used in mines. So you can have like a rail going up and down your main hallway so you don't have to walk back and forth. A good example of kind of going further than I needed to is my mining area near my castle. So first off, I could have just put it right underneath my castle, which would have been convenient. But I found this really cool area that's like, I don't know what you would call it. It's like a basin surrounded by these mountains and overhangs. And I thought that's a great mining area. So I started this Miners Guild building there. And that's actually the building where the mine is underneath. And there's actually an underground tunnel connecting that and my castle. And the actual mine itself, when you go down, it's not really a strip mine. I just build these main tunnels and then I build these like mine shaft structures and supports so it looks cool. And really what I'm doing here is looking for caves. I have rails along the bottom so I can take chest mine carts with me. And then when I find a cave, I can just go and cave for however long I need to. If my inventory fills up, I'll come back to the chest mine cart and I'll put some stuff away and maybe keep mining. And when I'm done, I can actually just push the chest mine cart along. I don't have powered rails in here, but you can actually just push chest mine carts even uphill if you have stairs next to the rail. And it's really fun. I love having this mine shaft that actually feels like a mine shaft. And yeah, like it's not as efficient as strip mining, but I still am getting enough resources that I need. And I'm having a lot more fun. And it turned into a big project that I had a lot of fun doing. The whole Miners Guild and the underground railway, connecting it to my castle. So that's an example of how like going beyond function and doing what's beyond the bare minimum will just naturally give you all this fun stuff to do and give you ideas for things to build. Some other suggestions for things to do in your world: look up inspiration, look at pictures. The main keep in my castle is actually based off a keep from like a drawing of a medieval castle that I saw. I thought that was cool and I just made it in Minecraft. You can look at other people's builds, especially beta builds. That's a great source of inspiration. Another thing that's fun is building sort of like references to old Minecraft stuff. You could build something from the old legacy tutorial worlds. I've seen people do that before, and I think that's a really good idea. And I actually want to try doing that on my world eventually. You could build like the old villages, or maybe the big Minecraft sign that used to be over the tutorial worlds. One thing I've always really wanted to build is this like water mill that's from an old screenshot. There's something about it that's just like very nice and cozy, and I always like the design. So I'm gonna find a place in my world eventually to build this. Pixel art is a classic thing, classic old Minecraft thing that a lot of people do, and it's pretty fun. Statues also. I really like seeing people build statues of like Minecraft items or Minecraft mobs like pigs, creepers, Steve, whatever. I haven't done it yet in my world, but it does seem really fun. And it's one of those things that seems to fit old Minecraft really well. Farms are always a good option. Even in this old version, there's a lot of farms you can make. Obviously, the normal wheat farm, but also sugarcane, cactus, even flower farms. And yeah, just have fun building designs for this, trying to find an efficient design. And a lot of these can be automated or at least semi-automated. Here's a really cool mushroom farm made by V on YouTube. It has these like arms that have the, I guess, like spawning mushrooms on them. And then over time, those will make other mushrooms appear in the lower areas. And if you flick this lever, you can make the water come out and it just rushes all those mushrooms down to the collection area. I just thought this thing looked really cool and the scale of it was awesome. It made so many mushrooms. I was actually astonished. And yeah, mushroom stew is actually, it's a pretty good food in this version because most foods are not stackable. But mushroom stew, you can carry just like a stack of mushrooms in your inventory and then make it on the fly. And it heals a lot of hearts, which is good. You can also make mob farms in this version. If you find a spawner in a dungeon, you can typically make a mob farm out of that. But you can also just make a generic hostile mob farm. You know, that classic one, I think Etho designed it. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on that. But basically it has the dark rooms inside of it and then the water streams in the middle that take mobs down the shaft, where they fall to their death. You can also make a similar farm for passive mobs, though that one might be a little more tedious because you usually have to get rid of all the grass in a wide area in order for the farm to run efficiently. Also, do note there are no hoppers in this version, so the collection point, you will just have to be standing there to collect the items or else they will despawn. Similar to farms, you can try building things with redstone and pistons. There's a lot of cool creations you can make, and I've had a lot of fun just playing around with pistons in my world. I just use them to make gates for my castle. I have this one portcullis in my castle on the main gate. It's so cool. I'm so proud of this thing. But yeah, it's based off this really old tutorial that I can link in the description. So that's super fun to make. Also, check out Boxblair. He has a ton of things about redstone builds, doors, and also glitches that apply for beta 173. So his channel's a pretty good resource for that kind of stuff. I do try to give every building something at least a little practical or just something interesting to it. Sometimes I'll make a building a special storage area. So for example, I have this library in my world, and this is where I'm planning to store most of my sugarcane, paper, and books for whenever I need to make bookshelves, and also some maps too. I have this dog kennel that, again, it's not just a build to look at. I actually store all my dogs here. That's definitely an idea for something to do. Just be warned that I think the dogs will contribute to the passive mob cap. So if you have too many dogs, like other animals will stop spawning. Terrain is, of course, something you can play with a lot. I've seen a lot of people flatten out terrain in beta. In beta, the terrain seems to be a little less flat sometimes. So that is a good project if you need a big flat area to build something. But also you can try adding to the terrain, making custom hills and mountains. I've definitely sculpted terrain to my liking in the past. Custom forests is a fun one. Monster has this big, like, tall oak forest that he made in his world, where actually the oaks are even taller than they are normally, because he put all the saplings like a few blocks up before making them grow. I think that looks really cool. I've seen people, I think, with like giant birch forests. Also, custom trees are really fun, whether they're small or big. I've seen some really big ones too. That's always fun to me. I just really enjoy building natural features and stuff or incorporating it into builds. So that's always something you can do. And if you want a place to keep track of ideas, make an idea board. Find a good like central place in your world to put a big board where you can put signs and ideas. I mean, that's something a lot of people do, and I think that's always fun. If you want some ideas for things to build, like I said, you can look at other people, older Minecraft series that happened around this version, but also newer ones because there's a lot of people playing beta today, and there's a lot of good worlds that you can get inspiration from. Jack Kerwood has one of the coolest beta worlds I've seen on YouTube, and he has this whole series where he makes this medieval town with this awesome castle and cathedral, and it's really good. This is a world by Codester King, and I've always really liked this world, first because just the scale of it is really awesome. There's so much stuff here, and it's so big. But one thing I've always really appreciated and respected about this world is it kind of reminds me that you don't really have to have a set theme for your Minecraft world or even just individual areas, especially in this version, because I think you can kind of get away with mixing and matching things a little bit more. And what I mean is a lot of people go into Minecraft with this kind of assumption that whatever they build or make has to have a certain theme or at least some sort of real life analog, like it has to look like a house or a castle or a village or something. But how about just building a Minecraft base? Like, it doesn't have any real world equivalent. It's just a fun Minecraft base. And that's what I love about this world. There's like a little cozy village outside, but then when you go inside these walls, it's just like a bunch of different stuff. There's a little bit of medieval influences. There's some more modern influences. There's just like kind of whatever he felt like he wanted to build and would look good. He put it wherever he wanted it and then attached everything with paths, courtyards, bridges, tunnels, stuff like that. And I just really appreciate that style of building. Also, what's cool here is he has a museum. Museums are always things you can do. You can do them with like every block. I've seen people try to get every block in beta, which is a lot more doable than modern versions. What's cool with the museum in Codester King's world is it contains all of like his historical artifacts. So like his first tools of every type. And then there's also a section that has like the old mine, and that the old mine that he used to use is part of the museum actually. And there's a little like plaque there explaining some things about it. And I really like that idea of like putting signs around your world for certain things and just like, oh yeah, I built this even just like a date thing of like I built this in whatever 2022. Here's a world made by Tarmel, and this is another world that I really enjoy. There's something really satisfying about this world. What's cool is he took some inspiration from other games in this world, especially Daggerfall. I think this cemetery is supposed to be based off Daggerfall, maybe. He also has like a little Daggerfall town, and I also just get like Zelda vibes generally from this whole castle town area. Also coming back to the idea of like building old Minecraft related structures. He has this town that's based off the old original pictures for villages, which never actually got into the game as far as I know. They were just screenshots. So I think that's really cool. Maybe also a little bit of a nod to the last beta player. He does a pretty good job with making a cool mine or just underground tunnel areas look like a proper mine shaft, which is something I enjoy doing, as I explained. I really like this part where he ran to a dungeon and then put like fences up around it. I think that's really cool. There's this cartographer in town, and like normally you would associate cartography with Minecraft maps, but in this version the maps are not that good. They're kind of too big and you can't place markers on them, so they're kind of just meh. But what's really cool is he had this idea of putting up like coordinates of different areas in his world, and I think that's just a cool idea to have this cartographer where you can go and like look up where different parts of the world are. Finally, I just wanted to point out this house in Tarmel's world. Nothing too crazy, but there's just something really cozy about it. And I like how you can go into this little nook area next to the stairs and just like look outside. And I don't know, I like this. I like this little part. I think it's cool. All right, now I'm going to show off some parts of my world. Just sort of shoehorn in a quick world update here. No, but really, maybe some people can get some inspiration from my stuff. And I've been doing a lot of water features lately. I don't know why, but it just happened that way. And water is definitely like a really fun thing you can play around with in any version of Minecraft, but in these versions too. It's just fun to make fountains, canals, waterfalls, rivers, that sort of thing. A lot of things you can do. A lot of fun stuff. I have this canal here that I built, basically just to go from the ocean to right underneath my castle. Something I've been planning to do for a long time, but I finally did it. The tunnel has some stops along the way where you can stop and get out and climb the stairs up. Some mossy cobble just for decoration. There are squids a lot, which is a problem because boats still like break against objects and entities in this version. But I'll show you a way I kind of worked around that. Oh, damn it. Yeah, you come in here under the castle, and I'm pretty proud of this over here. I made this sort of like docking area for the boats. So normally you would just come up here and park the boat in the water. The problem is that squids will spawn constantly, and they'll come up and just like push the boat against the edge so it breaks, or they'll push the boat out back into the water. I actually don't think I'm going to be able to get this in there because it's too narrow. So I think I might just have to kill this one, but I'll demonstrate with these remaining one boat. So yeah, you park the boat here as carefully as you can, and then you push the piston, and now the boat is basically fine. Squids can push it, but they won't be able to break it or send it off into the middle of the water again. So that's something I'm kind of proud of, just a fun little thing with pistons. I think I saw Monster doing this once. I'm pretty sure he has a video where he did that, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I took inspiration from that. I've been working on the lake and the gatehouse out here. So the gatehouse is done, and you can climb up on top of it to look out at the sunset. And then I have the lake finished around here with some foliage spread around to make it look nice. And then there will be a path coming down here and over this little bridge. And then there was a cave opening here. So this is just kind of an example of seeing things in your world and getting inspiration from that, building off of it. So I had the lake here. I thought it would be cool to just have like a little stream come down into this cave, make an underground stream, and then come into this like underground lake here that I just made. And eventually this will be full of like foliage and leaves and stuff. Just nice little like secret grotto with there'll be one or two secrets in here. Nothing like too crazy, but just like little fun things to do. All right, now that I've given some inspiration, especially for things to build, I thought I'd also go into more like detailed building tips. But I guess my first tip would be to just not worry about it too much and have fun. I know that sounds kind of generic, but I've made this argument before, and I really do believe it, that things in this version, more simple builds, builds that might be considered uglier in later versions, actually fit into this version pretty well, and they don't look as bad. Don't be afraid to make that basic cobblestone castle, because it actually kind of fits in with this version and looks kind of cool. You can try copying other people's builds. I know that might sound bad, but I mean, this is Minecraft, and I feel like it's fine to just copy someone's build if it's just for fun. But then after that, you know, try to make it your own. Try to make another build in that same style, but maybe add your own differences, add your own changes, make like improvements that you want to see. And then eventually something that originally you just copied will become almost like your own style. I've absolutely done that before. My castle is both inspired by the classic castle from the old Minecraft trailer, and also an old survival castle I saw somewhere. Some of the towers are very much taken from that castle. Also note that you are very limited in this version with the blocks that you have. You don't have nearly as many building blocks. So you may have to just go with, you know, stone and wood. And stone and wood aren't like that bad of a combo. I think they can look pretty good if you use them well. And again, in this version, you know, simplistic builds fit a lot better. But you may have to try some interesting block combos, things that you wouldn't have thought of before. Use sand or wool, or I've seen people use dirt, I think, and it's not always that bad. You don't have like spruce planks or dark oak planks, so you might have to use like oak logs or spruce logs to get that dark brown look. Netherrack is a great block. I've used it for roofs before. It has this nice kind of darker red color, and it's very easily attainable from the nether, so that's really nice. I've talked about simplistic builds, but you can actually get pretty complicated, and I've seen people sort of push the limits of Beta's block palette. Mr. Saturday does these gradients from like light to dark on a lot of his builds, and I think they look actually really cool. Also consider using prestige blocks for your build. This is sort of a category that I named to put in all these blocks that are kind of more rare, which makes them interesting to build with, and also kind of just a fun challenge of collecting these blocks in the first place. You have mossy cobblestone, which can't be created in this version at all. You have to just find it in dungeons, and that's it. So that's not really a block that you're going to have a huge abundance of, probably. But it looks cool. You know, we love mossy cobblestone. It has that nice little green sort of aging effect, especially for things that are supposed to be older or more run down. Pumpkins. You can't farm pumpkins in this version. You just have to use the pumpkins that you find sitting on the grass outside. You're probably not going to have a ton of those either. But yeah, I like that. I think it's cool that, you know, when I make a jack-o'-lantern, that's like, it's a cool lighting block, you know? I know that I can't just make a bunch of these. It's special. Brown wool is another kind of prestige block. It's difficult to get. That might seem random, but the reason why is because to get brown wool, you either have to find a naturally brown sheep, which is not super rare, but it's also not that common. And sheep, they don't regrow their wool in this version, and you can't breed them. So, you know, you shear a brown sheep once, and you get, you know, however much brown wool, and that's it. You could dye sheep brown to get the brown wool, but the thing is, brown dye only comes from cocoa beans. Cocoa beans cannot be farmed. They are dungeon loot only. So yeah, that's kind of crazy, but this just happened to make brown wool actually like a pretty difficult wool color to get. Bricks are definitely a bit more valuable in this version. I think clay is just rarer in general, and bricks just are really cool. So that's a really popular block that people use that's not that easy to obtain. Diamond and gold blocks are pretty obvious, like prestige blocks, you know. Takes a lot of resources to make a full diamond or gold block. But also, even rarer than that would be using certain ores in your builds, especially diamond ore, because there is no silk touch in this version. The only way to use an ore like diamond ore in a build is to find the diamond ore where it is and then build around it, or to use pistons to painstakingly push it exactly where you want it, which is definitely tedious, but I then will see people using diamond ore once in a while in their builds and think that is really, really awesome. Another prestige block is the crash slab. So normally with stone slabs, You know, you put them on top of each other, but they have this line in the middle, but you can actually make a slab that is completely smooth all the way around. And that's special because in this version, we don't have the smooth stone or whatever it's called in modern versions. Now, this block is actually normally unobtainable, but using a little trick, you can actually get them by using slabs and some redstone and a sticky piston. If you place the sticky piston like this next to a full block, put 2 redstone here, then you can put slabs of any type in front of the sticky piston and then put a redstone torch here. You can make crash slabs. And these are really cool to use in builds. Very nice, solid, smooth stone block. Now just be careful because the reason these are called crash slabs is if you hover over it in your inventory, it will crash your game. I'm pretty sure this is because they weren't like given a name in game. So when you hover over stuff in your inventory, it tries to show you the name, but because it can't show you the name of this block, it just crashes the game. You can get around this by picking up another block in your inventory and then swapping it with the crash slab, and then swapping the crash slab out with another block. That way it never tries to show you the name of the crash slab, and you can move it around in your inventory. Just remember to be careful. Always swap it out with the block, because if you put it down, it will crash your game like it did for me when I was trying to record this. One thing I always like keeping in mind, and that always helps me build really cool areas, is thinking of how buildings work together and connect to each other, rather than just individual builds. Because I don't think I'm really that great of a builder if you like zoom in on any of my builds. Like a lot of my castle has very little texture. It's just flat cobblestone walls. But then if you look at it from a distance, you see everything kind of comes together and looks really cool. The way the keep and the walls and the towers and the inner buildings come together is really nice. So that's something to consider, is not just each individual building, but how it comes together with the others in its area. And you can also consider if buildings will work against each other. Like, does this building look kind of ugly next to the other one? Does it block its view? Stuff like that. I also just love making connections between buildings, figuring out how they connect with each other. Like, okay, I made a building behind this one. Maybe I'll make a back door and a little pathway where you can walk to it. You know, bridges, tunnels, maybe even rails, secret ladders or trapdoors. I don't know. I like making everything interconnected. And also, I recommend playing with height and elevation in your builds. Beta has really cool like hills and stuff. That always inspires me. And I think you should take advantage of that. Sometimes building stuff on flatland is great, but I wouldn't recommend building everything on flatland because it gets a bit boring. Maybe have something on a hill, and then you can like make stairs up to it, which is really cool, and then make a little tunnel going under the stairs that has another pathway to something else. I don't know, that kind of stuff is always really fun to me. Just watching how an area grows with different pathways and little secret pockets and stuff. Oh, but do look out for the height limit. Unfortunately, the height limit is a lot lower in this version. That's definitely one of the main drawbacks in my opinion. Usually I just plan around it so it doesn't become a problem for me. But like if you try to build a super tall castle on top of a giant hill, you're going to be really sad because you're going to get like halfway into it and then realize you can't finish your build. For interiors, one of the big things that I always try to keep in mind when I'm making them is to not make them feel claustrophobic. I always try to include some sort of window or some sort of like extra exits in and out of the room. There's something about making a room feel a little more open and connected with the rest of the world that just feels really cool to me. And I like it better than having a claustrophobic room. I try to make rooms not be dead ends whenever I can, or at least have some sort of window looking out. Even if a room is underground, if it's close enough to the surface, you can do little things like make like basement style windows towards the top of the room, or even do like a window well. I have this building here where you have this basement area, but also there's a door out to this sort of courtyard and a garden because of this elevation where like it drops down. And I really like it. I think that's cool, and it helps the basement feel like it's not just totally claustrophobic, like dead end, you know? For details, of course, like in any version of Minecraft, you'll use whatever blocks best fit what you're trying to make. Sometimes you can just use full blocks. Like I've used a bunch of wood logs stacked on top of each other just to look like a pile of firewood. But obviously you should use a lot of like slabs and stairs to make like chairs and seats and tables combined with fences. Ladders and trapdoors can be good for various details. You can use stairs and slabs actually to make like cabinets and wardrobes. You can use trapdoors around a little pile of objects to look like it's a big like crate or something that's holding them. I like doing this around mining areas. Also, here's one I don't see a lot, but I like doing it. Using chest minecarts or furnace minecarts. I just think that looks really cool. Because, you know, often I'll decorate with something like chest or crafting table to make a room look more full or more lived in. But the chest in a minecart, I just really like that as a decoration, especially in like a mining or industrial area. Fireplaces are really cool, and if you pull them off, they're sort of like a prestige block in their own right, because in order to get one, you have to really make sure the area is safe and nothing's going to burn down. But when you do get it, it's really cool. One tip I have for fireplaces not burning down everything is that wooden slabs in this version, this is actually unique to these older versions, and I really appreciate it. But the wooden slabs are like in the code, they're technically stone slabs. They make a stone sound, and you mine them with a pickaxe instead of an axe. And this also means they do not burn. So I've had to use this before, where I replaced part of the floor or the ceiling with wooden slabs instead of full wooden planks. And you can't tell the difference. So it's just a really neat trick to help you build some fireplaces. But if you just can't get a fireplace to work without burning down your house, or you don't have enough space or something, you can also use this trick, which I really, really love. It's an infinitely burning furnace. And this sort of adds the warmth of a fireplace into a build without any of the fire risk. So to make this, basically, you have to put a furnace down and then have a piston that's pushing into it so that it's going to push it wherever you want the piston to be in the end. And then power the piston and then smelt something in the piston, preferably something cheap, because you're going to lose whatever goes in there. And then when the piston pushes it, it'll actually become an infinitely lit furnace. A few things with this is that the furnace direction may be kind of wonky. It might face a direction you don't want it to. So to avoid that, just make sure when you're pushing it, have a block behind where you want it to face. For some reason, that makes it face away. Don't smelt anything in the furnace after you get the infinite burning effect, because I think it'll make it go away. Okay, now just as an example, I'm going to do a quick little walkthrough through one of my favorite interiors that I've built in beta. So I had this big room in my castle, and I wanted to make it like a central sort of like common room type thing. Now I'm already liking this room because it has the windows and it has the multiple exits to different places in the castle, which of course gets that open feeling that I really like. But to help that even further, I decided to take this back part of the room and make this into a stairwell. There is a floor above us, so this will allow, you know, people on that floor to come down into this floor. And also the stairwell just looks really cool. It's kind of like a centerpiece type thing. And it adds some of that like elevation, playing with elevation type stuff that I was talking about. And I always think that's really cool. Even in interiors, if like one part of the room is higher than the other, I think that's a really fun thing you can play around with. I added these little like fenced in windows in the stairwell so you can look out into other rooms. This is another thing that I've done a lot, and I think it's always really cool. Even if a room is totally boxed off and like underground or something, you can still do like interior windows to other parts of your build or other rooms that are adjacent to that room. And I think it's just really cool. Next thing I did for this room was add some pillars. I really like adding like pillars and vertical stuff in a room. I just think it's really cool. It gives them some character. I don't know what the word is, but it just looks really nice, especially for medieval type stuff. It looks very sort of medievally. Next, I added a fireplace on the other side of the room. This just looks super nice, both because fireplaces are just great, but also because the red of the bricks is so good. I love red bricks. Who doesn't love the red bricks? And they're such like a great classic Minecraft block. So now the room is really coming together. It's starting to look pretty cool, but it does need to be filled in a little bit. I added these like dividers between the pillars on either side that are also planter boxes with flowers and grass inside of them. And these just look nice. It's nice to have some green inside, but they also kind of like pseudo divide the room into these subsections, which is kind of cool. I also added these little shrubberies around the room. Again, just adding some green, adding some leaf blocks. I think it looks really cool and nice. In general, I usually use leaves as like almost like a garnish for builds, you know, the same way you would use like parsley at the end of a meal. For so many things, adding like twisting leaves going up or mossy cobblestone or something in a build just adds like a finishing touch that makes it all look nice. And of course, you can use leaves on interiors too, often to really cool effects. I think it gives a really cool vibe when you have
a room, and there are leaves that are just like draping down the ceiling. Speaking of the ceiling, I added some fences now between the posts, and I added this little like chandelier. It's just a fence and a glowstone block. It's very simple, but I do think it really adds to this room. And that's another tip I would add is to, for interiors, just add a little bit of stuff going on in the ceiling, whether it's like cross beams or something else. It just makes the room more interesting. And then finally, I added in everything else, basically just final touches. This is the part that's pretty fun, and you can just kind of get really creative at this point. I have stairs, I have slabs as like benches and chairs. I have fences with slabs to make little tables and desks. I have a lot of bookshelves in here, chests, crafting tables. My jukebox is in here. And yeah, that's the room complete. Nothing too mind-blowing, but I've always really liked how this room came together. I think there's something very Minecrafty about it, if that makes sense to anyone. And yeah, I hope just like walking through my process here helped someone with figuring out interesting things to do with interiors, especially in this version where you're a little bit more limited. All right, now I'm just going to throw out a bunch of miscellaneous tips for playing in beta Minecraft. Farms are a little tricky because you can trample them just by walking normally on it. You don't have to jump or whatever on it. So that's kind of annoying. You will have to shift on farms to not break them. Or the other thing that a lot of people do is placing a fence under a farm. It's something, I guess, to do with the fact that fences count as like 1.5 blocks in their height. But yeah, placing a fence under a farm block makes it actually untrampleable. So whether you walk on it, jump on it, whatever, nothing will be able to trample it. So that's pretty useful, especially in situations where you think a lot of mobs are going to be walking over your farmland. Swords are pretty strong in this version, especially the diamond sword. It can kill every mob in 2 hits, and there's also no hit cooldown like there is in modern versions. So you can kill creepers very quickly. But also, swords are kind of like these weird multi-tools for some reason. Swords apparently break every block 10% faster than hands, which for most things isn't that useful because most things will have a tool that applies to it, like a pickaxe or an axe. But there are some weird blocks where it helps, like the crafting table. Yeah, for some reason, the axe doesn't work on the crafting table, so a sword is better there. I think also fences work better with a sword, and I think stairs are faster with the sword too. Armor in this version is not very good. The way it works is that the more durability you lose on the armor, the less protection it grants. But also every type of armor gives the same amount of protection. It just has different durabilities. Leather armor lasts like 5 seconds. Iron armor lasts a little bit longer. Diamond armor is okay, but the thing is that you're spending so many diamonds that it's really not even worth it because you get the same amount of protection from just making a suit of iron armor. So yeah, sometimes I'll use armor, sometimes I won't. It kind of sucks in this version, so just be aware of that. Bows, however, do not suck. Bows are machine guns in this version. You don't have to power up your shot. You just right click and the arrow goes, and you can spam that as much as you want, especially considering that the bows do not have durability. So yeah, machine gun bows, one of the things that people really like about this version. F3 will give you some good info as usual, like your coordinates, but it will also make all mobs have name tags above their head. Now the trick with this is that when you're underground, you can use this and actually see like a bunch of mobs name tags, and then you know that there's a cave over where all the name tags are. Another way to find caves is to use this trick with TNT. If you push a TNT block into your head, for some reason it makes the ground transparent and it lets you see all these caves. I don't really know why this works, but it just does, and it's kind of cool. Beds in this version, they do have to be in a safe place in order to sleep. Now, I think if you place down a bed right like when the sun goes down, there is a small window where you'll be able to sleep safely and then wake up because the world isn't dark enough yet. But otherwise, you will need your bed to be in a safe, lit up area in order for you to sleep. And this is an idea that I actually really like about this version. It's a little finicky though, because actually it senses up to 2 blocks away. So if your bed is up against a wall that's only 1 block wide, and there's like darkness or a monster accessible area on that other side of the wall, it will wake you up. So they're kind of finicky. Just be aware of that. Beds are kind of weird in this version, but just make sure it's in a solid, protected, lit up area, and you should be good. Animals work a lot differently. You can't breed animals in this version. They just spawn continuously, kind of like hostile mobs at night. So don't really worry too much about like saving animals and corralling them into fences because they're going to despawn if you don't kill them. So just feel free to kill pigs and cows and chickens and Definitely shear sheep instead of killing them, because shearing them will give you more wool. However, there is something that you can do where you kill a sheep to get that one wool out of it, but then right before the body despawns, you shear it, and then you get the extra wool. A lot of people do that. It's a really funny little glitch. But yeah, the kill shear method, kill the sheep to get the wool, and then shear it as fast as you can to get the other wool.
Watch out for falling into water in this version. 1 block deep water is not guaranteed to stop your fall. You can still take damage if the water is only 1 block deep. So just keep in mind the water does have to be at least 2 blocks deep in order to stop any damage. This also does mean that the water bucket clutch, as it exists in modern versions, will not work, but there is a variation you can do. Basically, if you go to the side of the block that you want to fall off of, if you just place the water down and then pick it up real quick, it'll just create this like single layer of water that'll fall down. And if you time it right, you can jump down and fall into this layer before you hit the ground, and hopefully it'll slow your fall enough that you don't take any damage. It's kind of tricky. You definitely have to practice and just get used to the timing of it to see what works. You could also just place the water and let it all flow down, which of course is a much safer way of doing it. But also that will, of course, delete things like torches and grass. And you may not want to do that all the time. If you want to play multiplayer, there aren't quite as many public servers because obviously just less people play this version, but you do have some options. And if you look around for servers, you should be able to find one. One place to look is the Golden Age Minecraft subreddit. It has a monthly thread where people can promote their servers for older versions of the game. So that could be something you could check out. I know there are a lot of popular ones like Retro MC, Old School Minecraft. I think Betacraft has a server too. There's also Modern Beta, which is an interesting one because it's a recreation of Minecraft Beta 1.7.3 in modern Minecraft. So to play this, you don't actually have to be playing beta. Apparently, you can just go in on the most recent version and just log into the server using the IP. But they also do have the option to log in from beta Minecraft, beta 1.7.3, which is really interesting to me. I don't know how that works, but that seems really cool if that really works. But if you want a private server that's just for you and your friends, you can run a server yourself off your PC. You're going to have to download the server jar and then do a few little steps to get it set up. You can do this either straight off your own PC, or you can use like a hosting site to run it. I'm going to link Pepper's video on running a Minecraft beta server because he goes through and tells you what you need to do. It's a good starting point. But yeah, it's totally doable. I used to run a server off my PC for my friends, and it's fun. Texture packs. If you want to see some good texture packs, there are some available for this version, and there's some that even people are making today. One good thing you can try doing is going on Planet Minecraft and then searching for texture packs, and then you can actually sort by version. So you can filter out all the texture packs so it's only showing beta 1.7 texture packs, and then you can just scroll through there and see all the texture packs. You can see old ones, you can see ones that were uploaded like a month ago. There's 2 texture packs in particular that I'm going to point out. The first one is the old cobble and bricks texture pack. This is one I've been using for years. I use it quite often because I like the look of the older cobblestone. In beta 1.7, they changed the cobblestone, so it's like this lighter, less contrast version. And sometimes that's okay, but a lot of times I like the look of the higher contrast old cobblestone. So I'll often use that texture pack. Another interesting one that I've played around with is Immersive Beta. This is a texture pack that's pretty close to the vanilla textures, but it does change a lot of things and generally moves the game towards a more like medieval style. Like the doors are different. A lot of the paintings have become banners or like weapons or potions. So that one I think is pretty cool. Mods. There are quite a few mods for this version. Earlier I was talking about a mod for fixing a lot of issues that you could get on Prism or UltiMC. So that mod is Beta Unleashed. It's a mod that has fixes, but also a lot of quality of life features, and I think it's pretty good. Now, to get this mod, you have to go to the Discord. I'll have a link to that, and then go to this channel labeled 1x download, and then you just click this Google Drive link. It'll give you the zip, and you can drag it right into Prism or MultiMC. Now, if you're looking for mods that add a bit more than just quality of life, there are actually quite a few, and in recent years, there have been mods especially working around this theme of like Minecraft if it took a different development path. You know, like old Minecraft, if it had never had the adventure update. And the most obvious example of that would be Better Than Adventure. And just from the title, it's a mod about Minecraft if the adventure update had never happened. This is honestly one of the only old Minecraft mods I've played. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I liked a lot of things about it. It adds a lot of new things to the game. Biomes, building blocks, mechanics, tool sets, to the point that it is basically its own version of the game now. But yeah, I know that this mod has a big following. People really, really like this mod. So if you do get tired of vanilla beta, you could maybe try out this mod and see if you like it. Now, there are a lot of other mods that I know of. I haven't played very many of them, but off the top of my head, I know of Not So Secret Saturday, Reindev, Indev Plus, Better Than Wolves, Mango Pack, Minecraft Diverge, Better Beta, Back to Beta, and probably like a million other ones that I'm not remembering right now. Each mod may have different ways of downloading and installing it. But like I said, if you just want to test out a bunch of mods, the Betacraft launcher does have a big list of mods that you can just download. And some of the ones I mentioned are listed on there. And if you want to know more about these mods, there are some great videos out there. I know the channel Paladin Ryan does a lot of reviews for old Minecraft mods. That is, Minecraft mods for older versions. So yeah, maybe check out his channel, watch a few of those videos, see if any of those pique your interest. And with that, I think that's everything I wanted to say for this video. This definitely kind of got out of hand. It started small and I kept just adding more things and more sections to this video. And even then, you know, everything I've talked about, all the tips I've given and inspiration or ideas is really just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, there's a million ways to play this game. But I do hope this video helps and serves as a good jumping off point for people who are interested in beta Minecraft. And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you around.